Hi, my name is Brittany Hoagland, and I am discussing the opposing side to the affirmative on Danielle's subject of education reform and specifically bringing arts back into the education system. I will be discussing some points on this, and the first that I will be bringing up is the budget and the funds for the education system. Another point that I will be bringing up is the test scores and how the United States ranks globally or internationally among other countries. And the third point that I will be bringing up is the No Child Left Behind Act. So with that in mind, I begin with the budgets. And Danielle brought up that $500 billion is spent on science funding. And with that much money going to science and the math departments, that it's crucial that we bring back the arts, because studies have shown that art and students participating in creative and visual spatial activities will help enhance their test scores, and they will achieve higher scores in their math and science classes. Basically, let's look at this in a practical way. At this time, it isn't fiscally responsible to add the arts back when the funds are lacking. There are budget cuts being thrown around left and right, and for us to spend the money that would be required to bring the arts back would be hurtful to the financial part of the budget and putting that money back into doing the arts, putting the arts back in. And according to a report from CBS News dated June 2013, the United States spends more money than other developed nations on its students' education each year, with parents and private foundations picking up more of the costs. And even though we are spending what we are spending, U.S. students still are behind their rivals on international tests. Through the findings and research in the study, it was shown that the United States spends more than $11,000 per year, per $11,000 per elementary student in 2010, and more than $12,000 per high school student. So when researchers factored the cost for programs after high school education, such as college or vocational training, the United States spent more than $15,000 on each young person in the system. And that's more than any other nation covered in the report. Also, according to an article published by NPR.org, in December 2013, the Program for International Student Assessment collects test results from 65 countries for its rankings, which came out every 3 years. The latest rankings or results from 2012 show that the U.S. students ranked below average in math among the world's most developed countries. They were close to average in science and reading. In mathematics, 29 nations and other jurisdictions outperformed the United States by a statistically significant margin, up from 23 years ago. And this report was found in Education Week. In science, 22 education systems scored above the U.S. average, up from 18 in 2009. So basically, another report. In reading, 19 other locales scored higher than U.S. students, which is a jump from 9 in 2009, when the last assessment was performed. I'm not going to keep going on and on about these statistics, but as you can see, we as a nation, the United States, are behind in math and science and reading. And that brings me to the point that I discussed before, the No Child Left Behind Act, which Danielle had brought up in her affirmative. And this was passed 2 years ago by the federal education law, which states that all students need to be proficient in math and reading by 2014, and that's set to expire. And we are seeking an extension as some schools are still behind and students are still struggling. And with students struggling, it's crucial that they focus on math, science, and reading. And so for us to bring the arts back at this time, it's just not, I think, feasible, because we get to really focus on math and science. And some students don't enjoy art, and if they're going to be in a class that they're doing art and they don't enjoy it, what's the point of them being in that class that they're wasting their time on? And they could, if they don't enjoy it, could fail that class, and we wouldn't want them to fail. So a solution that came to mind, and logistically, logically speaking, and I guess this is just a mechanic, but a solution that might support this problem on wanting this reform could be for the children to do their own fundraising and organize their own art programs, which would in turn help develop their organizational and leadership skills and teach them about the direct costs of such programs, which will in turn build a sense of community when they have a common goal instead of the school handling it for them and doing it for them. Because basically, if we want these students who are our future to grow up and be the adults that we want them to be, they get to step up and handle what they need to handle if they want the arts back. And those are my points.